doing? How are y'all doing? Okay, so we're about to go live. Okay, so I want to first say thank you to everybody that was able to come out because we are still in a pandemic, so I understand. Thank you to everybody that is watching digitally. Okay, so for those that don't know, my name is Teacup. I'm a curator here in the creative community in Atlanta. So Sarah called me at 1 o'clock in the morning. I missed the call, but I woke up to paragraphs of Teacup really need to do something about this. This was the night that Minnesota had started the looting at Target. So she knew something crazy was gonna happen in Atlanta, and just despite everything that's going on right now, how people agree or disagree with the protests and everything that's going on, she wanted to have a discussion just about what we can do to move forward. We know this is affecting a lot of people's mental health. A lot of people have questions about voting, about their rights, about protection, about just a lot of things. So I don't have any pinpoints. It's not going to be a PowerPoint background behind me, no pinpoints, no topics to specifically hit. I just want to have a conversation about it. So the people that I have on the panel are people that are very active in the community. They are some Black professionals. So I'm going to have everyone introduce themselves on the panelists. We are expecting to have a councilman come. Not sure if he is coming, but I will let everyone on the panelists introduce themselves. So we can start with, he's coming?
Yeah, Marcus is walking.
He's walking in? Okay,
Damn,
perfect.
that was kind of strong.
Perfect. You want to start off introducing yourself, Smart?
Sure.
All right, my name is, hold on. My name is Scotty Smart. I'm the founder of the SmartFoundation. I'm an activist in Atlanta. I just wanted to do this because we always hear people say that we need to organize. And so let's start organizing, you know what I'm saying? Let's take those steps in the right direction. Let's not just have a moment of outrage that leads to nothing afterwards. If we don't move forward with anything in plan, then all of this is a waste. You know, I'm proud to see the whole nation at where we are. We've reached our breaking point. And so now I'm at the point where we're like, what's next? We strategize, and I do have some topics to hit personally that I've been thinking about because I really want this shit, y'all.
So I'm attorney Gerald Griggs. I'm the first vice president, the Atlanta chapter of the NAACP. I'm an attorney, criminal defense attorney, civil rights attorney, and I'm an activist. And we've been active on many levels for at least since 2012, but primarily 2014 to the present. Been blessed to organize with some of the most active people in Atlanta and around the state. I'm the former third vice president of the state conference of the NAACP, co-convener of Georgia's largest march, which is the Women's March, and just an all-around, if I see a problem, we got to get out here and fix it, son of Atlanta. So I'm excited to start really having a conversation on the ground with people, with melanated people, with people who support melanated people, and that we can get to the solution. So I'm just excited to hear from you guys and give a few of my thoughts on movement.
How's everybody doing? Good, how are you? Everybody good? Marcus Coleman, founder and president of a human and civil political rights organization called SaveOurselves. Husband, father, revolutionary.
That's it.
Oh,
I mean, we just
That was a short introduction, because you know you
I
have
mean,
a lot more than that.
What?
That's a great introduction. Straight to the point, Marcus.
I'm waiting for the questions and everything. Yeah, I'm just here. Yeah, I mean, we all know why we're here, right?
Yeah, we do.
Well, let's get to it.
All right, good evening. I'm H. Scott Gordon, and if the last name sounds familiar, I am Scotty Smart's father. I'm a licensed professional counselor, and my son hit me up, to the people and ask questions or give some solutions about how we're being devastated through our mental health and how our mental health can get us through, but we have to come together. So it's a pleasure to be here.
Okay, so before we get all serious, get emotional, before we start this discussion, I just want everybody to give a round of applause for these Black men right here on this panel, okay? Yes, thank you. And I also have Kayla. I've invited her as well. She's also a licensed therapist. Wave your hand, Kayla. She's also a therapist. that can help speak and touch on some topics as well. So Smart, I know you had some things you wanted to touch on primarily, so you can go ahead and mention.
So to me, everything has to be solution-based thinking. This is a solution-based think tank. And so we are at the point where we've been able to point our finger at the problems that we have. Our problem is racism. Our problem is systematic oppression. Our problem is police brutality. And so we have to sit there and figure out what are our solutions. Me personally, I'm open to listen to everyone, hear your own honest opinion, but I think you have 3 different lanes you pick. You go the political route, which I've been lucky enough to have a mentor that's been able to show me the criminal justice and the political system, but we have to understand the steps that it takes. You have to understand the economic route. I'm really disappointed in our economic discipline that we have because we're not understanding our economic power and understanding how that plays into politics and criminal justice. So we touch on that. And 3, you got your radical route. If you with the shits, be with the shits. Don't ask me for permission. Do what you gonna do. Ride for us. Hey, burn this bitch down. Not this one, but I'm just saying in general. Sorry, sir. I'm sorry. I didn't want to incite any people. But to get started, let's talk about the political route. I think you have to understand the steps that take place. You know what I'm saying, from the political route. And with Griggs being an attorney, and I've been able to go through the political process on several different cases here in Atlanta. And I'd also want y'all to stop saying that Atlanta doesn't have a police brutality problem, because we definitely do.
Most definitely.
I've been to crime scenes. I remember we went to Allen Temple and saw the brain matter for Jimmy Atchison in the floor. You know what I'm saying? That officer still ain't got arrested. They actually let him resign 2 weeks before he was set to retire. They didn't want to fire him so that he could keep his pension. And so that's not really engaging that. But let's talk about the steps of political process and understanding how we fight police brutality and how we hold people accountable throughout the entire process. So I think when you talk about that, you have to start with how and who we hold accountable. Who do we contact when you have to get the police officer fired? Who do we go to when we need to get these charges brought forth, the district attorney, an elected official? We talk about voting as well. And so we have to understand the steps that it takes. You have to understand that protest may not be your thing, but we need to make noise. One thing I'm proud about right now is we have everybody's attention. Y'all took this shit for granted for way too goddamn long. Y'all thought we was playing. We tried to Kaepernick y'all ass, and y'all ain't want to rock with it. We tried to be peaceful. We tried to boycott Gucci, turn off the NFL. Y'all wasn't feeling it. Oh well, now we've disturbed the peace. I think y'all thought that no justice, no peace shit was a game. It ain't gonna be no peace around this motherfucker. And so we just have to go through the steps, you know what I'm saying? So I wanna, damn, he got my phone, but I kinda came up with some steps. Like I said, step 1 would always be the social media outcry. Everybody gotta post. Everybody gotta share the information, because you don't know who you're touching when you share information. We'd have to have a sign of solidarity, strength, and power in the streets. Protesting is needed. It may not be your thing, and I respect that. It ain't always my thing. I ain't the kumbaya, I'm not the rah-rah guy. Griggs, don't hand me no bullhorn. Marcus, don't hand me no bullhorn. That's y'all thing. I'm right behind you. But that's a part of step 1. Step 2 is holding officials accountable. And also, as we go through this radical stage, we have to make sure that we're intentional with our plans. I don't care about y'all setting stuff on fire, but we got to make sure that we're putting pressure on the right people. You know, I think back, if y'all remember when Nipsey Hussle was killed, right? And that lawyer wanted to take the case. They scared the hell out that lawyer. His ass was like, I ain't about to die for this case. I don't want to be on this case. So you have to apply that type of pressure, let people know we're not playing with you. You know what I'm saying? I'm at the point where you push up at the district attorney's house. You push up at the governor's house. Whoever is a part of the process, if the same lawyer in Minnesota got off Philando Castile think he gonna take this case, what I tell the people that went to Minnesota, hey, I need y'all to make a stop for me right quick. Pull up on bro right quick, he think it's a game. If we're gonna be on that, then be on that. You know what I'm saying? But again, the political process, understanding how local voting matters in the political process, how the district attorneys are elected officials, how my man was just telling me there's some elections coming up next week for local judges that nobody is talking about. We aren't educated in local voting. I don't give a damn about Trump or Biden. None of them had any control of anything. They couldn't shut down nothing that happened in the city of Atlanta. The governor could. Keisha had a little power. She got overall. She couldn't, Corona just happened. She couldn't even tell us to stay home no more. So we have to understand what political process affects us in our day-to-day lives. And a lot of this stuff doesn't affect, I don't give, Trump and Biden, they could have it out. Electoral college, whatever, however you want to see that, that's cool. But who affects us? Who's on the school board? Who's the local judges? Who's the local district attorney? What's that process? And how do we educate ourselves on that process? And how do we stay in tune throughout the entire process to make sure that happens? So can we start with the political process? I know y'all are really my big dogs. These are like my big bros, my mentors. I talk to them all the time. I learn from them. I've been in the movement for about 5 years now. It was funny because Friday was like deja vu for me, because I remember August 18th, 2014 was the day that changed my life. And that was the day we had the Mike Brown riots in front of CNN. It didn't turn into a riot, I apologize. It wasn't that fun. But I remember that energy changed my life. And I knew that this is what I was supposed to be doing, but I'm not one of the people that always wanted to be in the forefront. I talk to them all the time. They're like, bro, you really need to be in the forefront. But so can we talk about the political process? And
was planned by 4 courageous young people that go to Georgia State. 4 young women and 1 man planned that, and it was peaceful for 4.5 hours until outside agitators from Antifa and other groups came and disturbed the peace. But what I want Atlanta to understand is that we have a history of social justice and civil rights, and we are intentional in how we move. So politically, the people have the power. We are a democracy, which means the demos, the people, have the power. On the city level, it's controlled by the mayor. We have a strong mayor, and then we have council, and they create the laws. The mayor is the chief executive officer. She hires the police chief. So in this city, if we want to deal with police brutality, and this city has a very bad police brutality problem, we have to deal with Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms and Chief Erica Shields. I've had the occasion to speak to Chief Erica Shields on numerous occasions. When police officers beat Maggie Thomas right up here on Boulevard, we sat down with the police chief and the officer was fired in 8 days. When we dealt with the issue with Jimmy Atchison, we sat down with the police chief and the mayor and Jimmy's family, and the mayor promised to bring justice. That was 1.5 years ago. So when the mayor of the city of Atlanta gets on national television and chastises young people for exercising their peaceful right to protest and not label the troublemakers as Antifa and organized units that came in, I got a problem with that. Because many of you were in the streets. We were live streaming. I'm gonna take the mask down a little bit, okay? We 6 feet away, all right, cool. When we were in the streets for 4.5 hours, when we started at Centennial Park, I was there at 2:30. From 2:30 to 6:30, we were peaceful. When we left the park, we led a prayer, black fist, all of that. We left. We told everybody to go home. People started going home. There were 15,000 to 20,000 people there, okay? I've led the biggest marches in Georgia history, whether it was the Women's March, March for Our Lives, healthcare marches, the Black Lives Matter march, all of those marches with you guys. I see some frontline soldiers that are back. I see people that have had our back from the beginning. Marcus has been at all of them. Scotty's been at all of them. Amber's back. I'm glad to see her back. Char Bates over there. She don't like protesting, but she'll shut some stuff down. I Am City, that's the man right there, okay? And so when you talk about we don't know how to protest, there's some people, and I'm talking directly into the camera, there's some people that been at our protests. When you got a problem with the protest, call the people who throw the protests. So political power is exercised by pressure. We have to apply pressure because this city has taken this for a joke for far too long. And how we apply pressure is by making folks feel uncomfortable. We make folks feel uncomfortable in the courtroom. We make folks feel uncomfortable in the streets. We make folks feel uncomfortable in the halls of power. We have to understand that city council and city hall belong to us. We have to understand that the courtrooms that sit on Pryor Street belong to us. We have to understand that the city jail, which is supposed to be closing, that's been promised to us, and the activists, needs to be closed and they need to divest. But when you have a chief executive officer who gets amnesia and starts talking to folks like they're her children, she needs to remember that you work for us. You need to say each individual name. Say his name, Jimmy Atchison. Say his name, Kane Rogers. Say his name, Oscar Kane. Say his name, Veltavius Griggs. Say his name, Deatrick Griffin. Say his name. It's so many. Ariston Waiters, Katherine Johnston. We got a history here. Okay? So Friday was about George Floyd, but it was also about all the others that have not received this type of attention. And this city is angry. It's very angry. And that's why we need to talk about the solutions. So the solutions are, as my brother Martin said, 3 ways to get change: agitation, legislation, litigation. We got the agitation down. Y'all know how to shut some stuff down, for real. Y'all, and I mean, again, I'm an attorney, so I can't really tell y'all to go do what some people are doing, but I can promise you it's gotten attention. So next, I'm gonna give y'all the solution. Obama's 21st Century Police Initiative. There was a city councilman who had the courage and temerity to draft a paper. This paper was drafted in 2016 after the last big march for Black Lives. It had 2 pieces of important legislation in it. One was the decriminalization of marijuana. Y'all remember that? And the other was the full legislation of the Obama 21st Century Policing through broken windows legislation. His name was Kwanzaa Hall. He was a councilman for this district. Now ask yourself, why was marijuana declassified, but the 21st Century broken windows legislation wasn't? Since folks want to call folks out and say we don't know how to protest and we out there drinking brown liquor and throwing knives at police, Keisha. So if you want to talk about solutions, let's talk about implementing the second piece of that legislation. I'm sure we can reenact it and pass it through. It's understanding what's actually going on. It's not just believing what the news says, because the news had us believing that it was a full-blown riot in Atlanta and there was never a peaceful protest. Y'all remember that? From about 7 to 11, all they showed on a loop was folks burning stuff up. They didn't show any of the pictures and the videos of the peaceful protests and none of that stuff, like we weren't out there. Like we didn't have photojournalists. Like we didn't live stream it. So we gotta apply some pressure. It doesn't just stop with Keisha, because there's a district attorney in this circuit that has 6 cases on his desk. His name is Paul Howard. Paul Howard needs to indict and convict these killer cops. I need y'all to write that down. Paul Howard needs to indict and convict these killer cops. There you go.
There you go.
There you go. And so we also got judges that are routinely locking our people in cages, and we got judges that are not locking up law enforcement officers. Because what we saw with George Floyd was a crime. What we saw with Ahmaud Arbery was a crime. What we saw with our dear brother Jimmy Atchison was a crime. But they keep hollering we can't do anything about that. That's a lie. They can do something about it, but they need to hear from you guys. So I'm gonna pass the mic to my brother, Marcus Coleman. I know he has other solutions. I have one or two others, but I don't want to hog the microphone. I'm gonna turn it over to my dear brother.
Y'all forgive me. I mean, I know for safety purposes, we have to wear them, but I can't stand these masks. And I also can't stand them because in the last 2 months, the top 34 earning people in this country have racked in $343 billion as it's related to coronavirus. I know what's being said, how it's running rampant through our communities, but I promise you this, we're being fear-mongered, we're being lied to, we're being jerked around. It's sad to see all of y'all's faces with masks. It's sad that to pull your damn mask down. We're being manipulated. Now don't leave here saying, hey, he said don't wear no mask. I see we got some youngsters in here. That ain't what I'm saying. All I'm saying is stop being spoon-fed. Stop taking everything they give you. Listen, when I parked here, they were jamming a young brother up. He had a lime green Challenger, and that's when I saw about 10 or whatever military Humvees, and I'm just sitting here like, this is Atlanta. This ain't Atlanta, this is America, right? Bothering me. See, I kind of got the luxury to be a little more loose than my brother, Attorney Griggs, because I'm not bound legally as an attorney. I literally can say whatever in the hell I want to say. Not saying he doesn't, but I also run my own organization. So I don't have to worry about some of the executive boards that some folks, I used to have to worry about it, but not anymore. Where am I going with that, man? You called them out, but please raise your hands. Shar and City, can y'all please raise your hands? They actually just touched down from the tear gas and the bottles and the whole nine, the billy clubs. City did, I'm sorry, City, not both, City did. Give it up for the brother for living here and just coming back, going to Minneapolis and coming back. I mean, shit, this shit that y'all are seeing right now, it is 20 times, 30 times, 50 times that where he just came from.
And I was on FaceTime with him while the shit was burning.
Shout out to my girl Tamika Mallory, man. If y'all don't know who that sister is, it's a powerful sister. Scotty, that's why you asked me to come here, man. Like, I come with a different angle sometimes. What is it y'all want? What is it you want? What is it we fighting for? I mean, straight up, what are people getting bucked with rubber bullets and paint balls and stunned? And yesterday, I mean, why am I cut off like that, though? I'm confused. Oh, that was rhetorical. Like, but go ahead. I don't mind. I just wanted to, I didn't think anybody was going to seriously answer that. I was still flowing.
Well,
but go.
Well, you asked us what we want, right? And y'all organized this panel to find out what we, the people, want.
I haven't said but three words, though, sister. How about you let me come in and at least deliver?
Oh, I mean, I apologize if you want to continue your speech. I thought you asked a question. They handed me a microphone.
You have the floor, sister.
Okay. They asked what we want, we the people, what we want. And I personally am here because I'm ready to support some leaders in our community. I personally am here because of Scotty Smart, because when the shit is not hitting the fan, this man is in our communities. He's helping our youth. He's helping our homeless. He's helping the struggling. He's donating money. He's clothing, the backs of immigrants and graduating students. And so I support him. I'm prepared to support a leader who's going to bring solutions of how we can use Black economics to create systems for ourselves. What Black people are we going to support to put the money back into our communities? When Killer Mike, is talking about buying back the block, when are we going to buy back the block for real? When are we going to stop getting money and going to buy houses in Buckhead? And when are we going to start rebuilding our communities? When are we going to start educate ourselves? We have lawyers here, right, in our communities. When are those lawyers going to step up and be leaders and start to educate the rest of us? But when are the rest of us going to be ready to be educated? When are we going to say enough is enough and decide to be educated and to enact that education. So I personally am here because I'm ready to support some leaders to enact change.
Thank you, sis.
Thank you so much for sharing that. We're so sorry to cut you off, and I'm sorry for bringing her to mic.
Listen. Hey, I know when I leave here, there'll be some that be like, oh, I don't know about Buddy. Let me tell you something. I've been to 4 or 5 places already today with being married, with having a 26 is all by himself, with having a 14-year-old, sacrificing, going back and forth. So we all are here, I'm assuming, because we're committed. But I have to say this, and sister, I'm good. I don't have no hard feelings. You got to have thick skin in this thing. But here's my problem. We got to be careful speaking in so much blanket statements, because just because there might be things that we don't know about don't mean they ain't happening. We got to be careful with that. And that's why I was rhetorically asking, what is it you want? Because we can go around this room and ask you guys to define what is victory, and it's going to be 88 different answers in here. We got to get on the same page. There's one problem that's bothering me. It's bothering me. See, I'm from the A. It's bothering me that I'm starting to see the narrative shift that, and forgive me because I differ with my colleagues sometimes, I'm not one to say you exclude the anarchists. I'm not one to say that you exclude some of the acronyms that Brother Griggs just spoke about. You know why? And you didn't do this, Griggs, but what's killing me is, because this ain't a black church-led movement, what's killing me is, and I got hella reverends that I'm cool with, and I piss them off from time to time too. What's killing me is, this ain't your grandfather's civil rights organization movement. What's killing me is that folks aren't, the usual suspects aren't leading this movement, so therefore there's a narrative that's playing out right now. The narrative that's playing out right now is that this is being hijacked by white folks who don't give a damn about Ahmaud Arbery. I push back on that, and I go hard on Caucasians. You hear me? But I also know that I got some diehard Caucasians that'll show up before some of my Negro friends, straight up. See, I ain't come around to play. That's why me and the sister clash just because my energy. You come around to play. Just because they burning flags and vandalizing property that you don't own, even though it's in your neighborhood, so it ain't yours, that don't mean that they disconnected from us. That don't mean that they hijacking the movement. Because truth be told, let me tell y'all black folks something, and I'm blacker than black, so I ain't trying to, folks who don't know me, I'm still 15 years in the game worried about what folks think about me sometimes, but especially coming in. But here's what's bothering me. We getting bucked down, killed, murdered, effed over in the courts system. There are diehard folks that don't look like us, don't look like me, that also are anti-oppressive system. You keep hearing this narrative being repeated on national news that it's outside agitators coming in. Hell no, it's people that day in, day out fight this system, and wherever it's popping, that's where they are. What's killing me is, I guess we think as black folks we're going to defeat the United States alone. Truth be told, white supremacy ain't our damn problem to begin with. It's Caucasians' problem. So it's our Caucasian comrades that need to check their peers. But if we steady sitting up here as black folks, every time we see somebody vandalized, we're going to demonize them. Paint them as agent provocateurs, and I know something about agent provocateurs. There are some, we have to be careful. Please don't misconstrue my words. But what's happening to me is sickening, because I'm glad the nation is on fire. I'm glad the nation is on fire. Then you got these leaders, many of them, listen, I done gotten so much trouble in the past 48 hours. You got these leaders continuously and consistently telling you to calm down. Pipe down. Stop all the violence. Hell, if they would spend just as much time telling us to stop being violent to the fucking cops that we're actually out here for, I mean, I'm just sorry, man. You know, I'm only gonna be with y'all for a little bit, and hopefully I'll see some of y'all on the battlefield. But every day, day in and day out, we got folks that are really about this movement. Revolutionary clergy. Not the donation past the plate 3-4 times clergy. We got revolutionary counsel, attorneys. We got revolutionary everything down to chefs. And if you work at a veterinarian, we got revolutionary veterinarians. I mean, I'm not bullshitting. I'm one that goes in, this is another problem. Atlanta is cliquish as can be. Atlanta is the birthplace of the civil rights movement, right? I'm one of few that goes in various places, whether it's the rubbing elbows with the big civil rights leaders who I got respect for but know a lot of things about them, or whether it's in the grassroots or the grass tops. See, and I understand and respect all of those areas. The thing that frightened this city the most, and I'll close until it come back round. I know I can't make everybody pay attention, but I'll be damned if I'm running back and forth for heads to be fucking down. It's real talk. When you live in Atlanta nowadays, there is one thing that over the decades that Atlanta has used as a controlling mechanism. We the birthplace of the civil rights movement. We the black Mecca. We don't have political power here longer than any other city. All that is great. But for the first time on Friday night, Atlanta was not able to use the legacy of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, as much of a giant as he is, to pacify you and calm you. And I love that. This city is scared as hell because they have always been able to manipulate you with the legacy of Dr. King. Well, you know, I happen to roll with some cats that are still that were soldiers of Dr. King that are still living. And the one thing that never gets talked about, Brother Scotty, how peaceful Dr. King was, but he had a clique around them that'll cut your throat in a minute. Why am I saying that? Because drastic times calls for drastic measures. We're in the birthplace of Dr. King, but right now it's a little more Malcolm than King right now. And they're scared of you for that. That's why trucks and shit is rolling up in here on Edgewood. Right in Dr. King and shit, SCLC's main headquarters is right over there. The SCLC women's building is right over there. But now we got militarized tanks and shit rolling up and down the street. All that has to be done at this point in time is arrest every fucking cop that is out there. You got to arrest them, you got to charge them, you got to convict them, and then you got to sentence them. Those other two officers that held Brother Floyd down, the officer that is arrested could not have applied that knee choke, that knee snap on the spine unless them other two held his ass down. They got to go. The one Asian officer, he looked of Asian descent, that blocked everybody from viewing or recording, he got to go. I'm passing the mic. The worst thing about that video is the fact that we sat there and watched that shit and didn't do nothing to get them up off of him. I ain't telling y'all, I ain't telling y'all nothing I wouldn't do or nothing I wouldn't tell my son. I'm not saying lead you to slaughter, but be strategical. If 2 or 3 folks would have rushed that scene, he would have had to get his effing knee up off his neck. Maybe his life would have been saved. We got to stop being so passive and stop listening to folks and be leery of folks that are always telling you to calm the hell down. Keep turning this shit up as we create the list of demands during these uprisings.
Now, one thing I do want to mention, since Smart did bring up voting, me myself, when it comes to voting, I can admit a lot of things I do not understand on the ballot. A lot of things I don't understand. I don't know where to go to understand it. I know you can go to the voting website and things like that, but it has been brought to my attention. Yeah, that's probably not a reliable source to go to the voting website. Most definitely. Most definitely, we need to understand
Especially
the
with local
information.
politics.
I know early voting does end June 5th. There was a question that had been brought to my attention about voting, question 6 on the ballot, about if someone has committed a crime and having the right to vote. So definitely, I was just brought to my attention that select yes, that we do want to have them able to re-vote again, because they've definitely cut off the justice for a lot of criminals. You know, a lot of black people have been to jail for variety of things. So that takes away that right to
They're
vote.
called returning citizens. They're not called criminals. Returning citizens.
Thank you for correcting it. So returning citizens.
But see, that's more so legislation, because certain governors and elected officials have the power to change that law. You know what I mean? And so once even though it's on the ballot and it is in law, now does not mean that it can't be changed. And so I think as we talk about politics, we have to make a list of what our demands and who we want in office, and understanding the positions that are played through local politics, through bills and laws that affect us daily. So when we look at, that's just another form of systematic oppression, where they know that we're more so felons, so therefore they're gonna take that right away from you because they know what that right holds. And so we have to look at who do we hold accountable for that. Like I said, we make a list. We figure out, all right, we know that it should be done this correct way. We know a charged officer, convicted officers, that shit ain't being done. So who do we look at for that part? You know what I'm saying? Who holds what positions of power that we have to go down the list? We make a checklist. Everything at this point moving forward has to be intentional.
Let's make that checklist. Let's talk about this checklist right now. I have somebody writing notes. So what's that checklist? Where does it start and how do we go down it?
So we asking for the checklist of how we get officers removed and convicted? Got the checklist?
We're asking for checklists for how to get officers removed, how to vote, what we need to know on the ballot.
Okay, first thing first, to get an officer removed, you have to go through the police chief. The first step is to file an internal investigations complaint against that officer. 9 times out of 10, they're gonna find your complaint unfounded. So then in the city of Atlanta, you go to the Citizens Review Board. You file a complaint with the Citizens Review Board. But I wanna give you the most important step that most people miss. The police are certified by Peace Officer Standards and Training Council. It's called, I mean, I can repeat it too, so that's not a problem. Yeah, so get their post pulled. That's the part of getting them off of the force so they cannot police and they cannot go to another jurisdiction and get a new job. As far as getting them convicted, you need to make sure that you do one of 2 things. Of course, you report it to the police, or in Georgia, you have the ability to, as a private person, apply for a warrant application hearing. It costs $15. You go down to the clerk over here in Fulton County and you apply for a private person warrant. 9 times out of 10, they're gonna push you to the most important person in Georgia or in Fulton County to hold police officers accountable. We've said his name before. His name is Paul Howard. You're gonna have to go to Paul Howard's office and you gotta have a conversation with Mr. Howard. That's where most of the cases languish. Now, he has charged and convicted some police officers, but there are 6 cases on his desk currently, so we have to apply pressure to Mr. Paul Howard to bring these cases before a grand jury and get an indictment so we can have a trial.
Not to cut you off, Griggs, but a lot of y'all don't live within the city of Atlanta city limits. So Paul Howard may not be the district attorney for where you live.
Well, he's a district
So
attorney.
find out the district attorney where you live.
He's a district attorney for Fulton County.
Okay.
Okay, so you got DeKalb County, Gwinnett County, Clayton, all that good, Douglas. Figure out what affects you personally in your neighborhood and how we go after those people.
And to find that information, to find out which district attorney is in your jurisdiction, go to the Prosecuting Council of Georgia. They have the list of the 100 DAs in the 100 judicial circuits that are around the state. So that's how you find out who the district attorney is in your county.
And go where prosecutor,
The Prosecuting Council of Georgia has a website. I don't know what the exact acronym name of the website, but it's the Prosecuting Council of Georgia.
Also, can you tell people the importance of DAs? Because I think some people don't necessarily understand the process of DAs and how important they are. They're almost probably one of the most important positions.
I mean, they hold the chain of commands.
so let's repeat that, so I want everybody live.
He was asking how important the district attorney is, which is Paul Howard's job, but they hold the chain of commands. They're at the top of they are the people that can decide whether or not they want to indict the officer.
They are the lawyers for the state.
Right.
So the state has to prosecute you. Whenever there's a criminal offense, it's the state of Georgia versus you. So they are the attorney for the state of Georgia, and they will present the case in court to get a conviction against a common citizen. So that's why it's important to know who the prosecutor is in your county. In Gwinnett County, the prosecutor is Danny Porter. In DeKalb County, it is Sherry Boston. In Clayton County, it's currently Tasha Mosley. In Fulton County, of course, it's Paul Howard. In Henry County, it's Darius Patillo. In Rockdale County, it is Alicia Adams Johnson. Have I covered everybody's counties? Any other county I'm missing? Okay. For voting. Okay, for voting. Voting is fundamentally important because we are in a democracy, and the only way you're going to change a democracy without a war is to vote. So it's important to know the questions that are on the ballot. That question right there is whether or not we should change Georgia law to allow convicted felons who are currently on probation or currently serving a sentence to be able to vote. In Georgia, once you are off of probation, you can reapply and have your right to vote restored to you. But what the ballot question is asking is, do we want to change the law to allow them to be able to vote while they're in custody or while they're currently serving a sentence, which I think should be yes. So that's why voting is important, because that's how you determine who your representative will be and what issues that are called ballot initiatives will become law.
I think another thing when we talk about voting, you just brought up, is understanding the people who are representatives, the city councilmen. They are supposed to be our voices. If they aren't speaking up, if they don't have our back and our voices, then we have to be able to address them, because they're winning local elections with less than 400 or 500 votes. So it's just that we're not educated enough to show up and really vote on these things. I sat here and watched last year, and I sat with Griggs, we watched all the mayor elections. The person who was the mayor of College Park won the vote by with 700 votes.
Keisha won the election by 750 votes.
No, I'm not saying they won the election. I'm talking about that was the total amount that voted. that was the winning, that was the number. 700 people against 300. Only 1,000 people voted in the city of College Park for the mayor. It's local voting. This is a decision maker in your area.
Which was a historical election, because there had been a white mayor in seat for the last 30 years, and now it's filled by a black female.
But that's just the power of our knowledge. So it has to be the point where you want to gain this information. Y'all remember when they wanted to bring forth the, what's the shit called with Trump? I can't think of the damn word right now. When they were about to get Trump out of office.
Oh, you talking about impeachment?
That's the damn I word I was looking for.
Impeachment.
I was saying indict, but when they were about to indict Trump, there were 252 congressmen who were brought up to testify. How many of us actually know who the hell those 252 people were? They had enough power to bring forth charges of impeachment against the president. Those are local powers that we're not tapping into. And so we have to understand the congressmen. They be there for, all of them just old white men right now. Some of them go through elections and they don't have nobody running against them, they just keep on winning. Like even a lady down in the Ahmaud Arbery case, they said she's been in office for a couple years. She doesn't have nobody else going against her. So we have to be able to understand these local politics and what actually affects us.
What affects your kids? Like, we can't keep having this. And one thing I hate about a lot of our, not these older brothers here, but because I ride with them, but a lot of our older generation seems hopeless when we have these conversations. Y'all ain't gonna change shit. Well, get the fuck out my way. You know, because there is truth to power. There is a process. So we have to step out and be able to share the information of how the process works. And if I hold you accountable and want you to be a part of the process, then I'm giving you a plan. Because as much as I love what Killer Mike did the other night, and I hated what Tip did the other night, but what Killer Mike speaks on a lot of is organization. But Killer Mike, I need you to come help us organize.
Yes,
I can't have you just speak on it no more. Like, we at the point where you have the platform. You with these platforms, these social media influencers, if y'all ain't talking about shit, shut the fuck up. Because at the same time, a lot of y'all just deterring shit.
Facts.
And I'm at the point where, you know who shocked me the other night? Don Lennon called everybody out. Don was going off the other night. Don called out Oprah, Ellen, Drake, everybody with the influence. I don't hear y'all talking. Y'all got all this power, this money, this influence. Y'all have all these resources. We need you to use them now. We need you to educate the people now. We need you, even if you don't do it personally, put somebody beside you that's gonna do it. That you believe in, that you say, hey y'all, I'm rocking with bro right here. He got this shit going together. He leading the way. Put somebody in that position to where your followers follow them, to where you organize a plan. So back to our political process. That's my father over there. He don't really matter. I'm just joking. He's here for mental health aspect of it. Say that again?
I'm sorry? Are we finishing the panel? Oh, yes, we are. He was just explaining, like, the voting and certain things.
Each part of the conversation will...
I'm sorry, but thank you for asking.
But each part of the conversation will stray off topic a little bit, you know what I'm saying, to break down how we can organize and move forward. It has to be a consistent energy shift within this movement. It can't be just this weekend. The impact that we had with this, you know, how many people had to tell that they couldn't come today, I felt bad because so many people wanted to be involved. That means we got to do this again. People are looking for leadership. People are looking for a plan. People are tired of everybody saying what we should do. I'm at the point is what the fuck is you gonna do? And so I'm here, I'm with it. I know that I've been around the movement for a while. I've watched these brothers make things happen. I've sat in on city council meetings. I've sat down with the police chief. I've seen an officer get fired myself. So you can't tell me that it's not possible. You see what I'm saying? But it's not enough of us that care long term. This process is long term. You're not gonna get nothing done overnight. Ain't nothing gonna change that quickly. But you gotta be a part of the entire process and go through it with us. So our political process, it ties into everything because that leads us into the economical process. Because a lot of us are supporting brands with our money that are funding our own oppression. For Trump, why are we spending our money with them? And so our economic power is everything. They ain't opened the country back up because it was safe. They opened the country back up because they were losing money.
That's exactly why they opened the country back up. And
they don't give a damn about that. They don't give a damn about your health.
Something that was brought to my attention that was imposed, I do want to get, because I know everybody has a lot of things to say and questions and things. Something that was brought to my attention is, first, the blackout day. We mentioned it June 7th. I believe T.I. mentioned it first. I'm sorry, July 7th. And then...
Why are we waiting a month and a half? Why are we waiting a month and a half? The energy is now.
I believe at least Juneteenth, or at least sooner, we should do it. Sharbates, did you have something to say?
I'm sorry, I ain't trying to go down on nobody or against what nobody is doing. I appreciate everybody putting their time, energy, and effort regardless of their status. But we have to quit jumping behind people that's doing these quick fixes with no follow-up, with nothing that happens after. Did anybody see anything happen from the Gucci campaign? Okay, everybody back in Gucci? Okay, we got to start being more proactive instead of, post-active after the thing has already happened. And honestly, if we're not keeping it going, why just a day? Why are we ever going to support them again? Let me tell y'all something. I'm going to just go ahead and say it. I'm Malcolm Luther Queen. I'm going to go ahead and draw a line in the sand. Because it's a thin line, and I'm sorry, I ain't trying to, but everybody already feel this, but nobody else want to say it. Me and City always got to be the ones to say the shit that don't nobody want to say. It's the scary activists and the people that are aligned with the mayors and police and businesses and different things that it makes a difference. Rich and wealthy colored people are not experiencing the same things as us. They're not. When they go outside their homes, they're not experiencing the same thing. They have a different layer of protection, especially if they're known. So I don't know if they're the right I don't know if we should be listening to rappers and entertainers. I don't know, okay? So you gotta pay attention. You can't be, posting stuff about Tupac killing cops and saying this in your music and different stuff, and then you jumping over here, you've been standing there by his time, but then when we get there, we're here now, y'all. Whatever you will be doing during the civil rights time in the 60s, we are here right now. I'm not agreeing with anybody looting or tearing down anybody's business, but I'm also not agreeing with them ignoring our asses and all these people that being killed for the longest. Why is there so much attention on the end result instead of us focusing on the root and the cause? I'm just saying, I'm sorry, but we just don't share. It's a lot of people that have bigger voices than us that's being represented as if they represent all of us, and they don't. I just want to say they don't, okay? We see y'all, we are proud of y'all, and like Greg said, it's a whole lot of other people that want to make us look bad right now that ain't got nothing to do with us. Those activists in Minneapolis, I've not only talked to City, but many people that are there that's talking about how organized they are, how unified they are. I went to college in Minnesota, so in case nobody told y'all, it's not a super white place. It's a lot of minorities there, y'all. It's almost like Decatur, how it's a whole bunch of Muslims and Africans, a whole bunch of different cultures, and Chinese. It's a melting pot. So understand, in 2003 when I was in college, we knew then not to go downtown after dark. That's how racist Minnesota is. So it's so deep because they've been waiting. But they ain't burning down our stuff or they stuff. They're burning down the people that has been oppressing them. So let's not talk about what the bear did after and ignore the fact that the bear been poked for 400 years.
And then, so I do
Shaw
want to let
Bates.
some people talk because
That's my girl.
a lot of people have had
That's my
questions.
sister. That's my movement sister right there.
No problem. Hey, everybody. Yay. Happy Sunday. Yes, just getting a little present and looking at the room and scanning all y'all beautiful black faces. My name is Toni Michelle Williams. I'm the Executive Director of Solutions Not Punishment Collaborative here in Atlanta. I want to say a few things, but where I want to start are concrete solutions about what's happening currently on the ground in Atlanta. Y'all talked a little bit, Gerald talked briefly about the closure of the city jail. Raise your hand if you knew that the Atlanta City Detention Center, which is the extra jail that houses folks for nonviolent offenses like marijuana charges, like having a broken tail light, not having your registration, things, all suspended license. Give me some other like quality of life,
broken window stuff.
Yes, what shouldn't you be in jail for that's not violent, like rape or killing or anything? Those are the things that people get arrested in that jail for. It takes $40 million per year. $40 million per year to run that facility. And so when we talk about what, that Keisha promised us a closed jail, she did last year, May 20-something, one of those days. I was standing right beside her, right? So we're at a year that the jail has not closed down. So concrete, when we talk about what, we've already been asking for that, right? Things have been organized. There have been women, black women, and black LGBTQ people who have been organizing in this city of Atlanta for years, particularly around criminal justice reform in the past 7 years, in 2013. I would just be very, very transparent on two things. The first one I'm gonna give you. That first thing is that I am really, really, really low-key, high-key disappointed in this panel. I was over here with my table right here. I was shaking. I was over. I had my little things. I was like, girl, what are we doing? I love you. I don't know you or y'all, but one of the reasons why I came out here in the midst of a pandemic and in the midst of social unrest and distrust and all of the things was to hear solutions and figure out how and where y'all have been showing up in places around this city so that we can to help organize, right? To help get people into formations, to help put you back in your body as black people so that you can feel empowered enough to stand in front of the police, right? Or even like what I'm doing now with my legs shaking and my arms shaking and all of the things, standing in front of us to talk about what we really feel and what we need, right? That is what organizations who are invested in community, like the Solutions Not Punishment Collaborative, like Southerners on New Ground Song, shout out to those folks, like so many other organizations, black organizations, again, that have been leading and organizing, writing the policy and legislation, all of the things for years. So we have to localize these demands. We have to be present around the national. I'm not gonna do what the panel did because it just annoyed me. I'm gonna give you concrete solutions. Everybody pull out your phone, please. Pull out your phone. Please. Pull out your phone, go to your internet, Chrome, Google, yay. They give us a cute little Black History commercial. It's the only reason why I just shouted them out. Google, go to Close the Jail, ATL.org. When I talk about, when you go to this page, everybody say I when you got it. ATL.org. When you go to this website, scroll down a little bit and sign the petition. This Tuesday, in the midst of all of this bullshit, our city council and the mayor is going to vote on a new budget for 2020 and 2021. We're talking about concrete change, right? What you can do right now. You can show up to that meeting and say, hey, y'all, these $40 million, well, I'm gonna just rephrase, they took some money away. Now there's $18 million still allocated towards the jail, which means that the shit is not gonna close, right? So she's giving us false, all of the things. Sign the petition so that on Tuesday, we show up with all of your names, the organizers again, who I've named women and Black LGBTQ people. We can show up to this meeting and say that these folks have signed this petition and you need to close down the motherfucking jail and use these $18 million in the things that we need, like housing, like health care, like all of the things that Atlanta is struggling with. So raise your hand and say aye if you've done that already before I sit down on myself.
Aye.
Perfect. I just took a deep breath.
Well, thank you, sister.
Thank you.
So let me get back to the panel as well.
One last thing. What really frustrated me about being in this space is, again, the erasure of Black women's leadership and the erasure of lesbian folks, gay folks, trans people, and everybody else who's trying to figure it the fuck out, like all of us are in here trying to figure it the fuck out. And actually, it is those folks who know so much about what love is and about true transformation of your spirit, of your body, and your wholeness.
I appreciate your
I'm getting
time.
on topic. Don't interrupt me
No.
right now.
This is the thing. You came with the wrong type of
So
energy.
when we talk about...
You came with the wrong energy. This is a solution-based think tank. This is for everybody.
I'm offering direct solutions.
This is for everybody
I'm offering
to have
direct
an open,
solutions.
This is for
So
everybody
this
to
is the
have
second,
an open floor.
Just stand with me really quickly.
I
In the ways that I stood with
fuck
you
that.
when he was being a little misogynist.
Like I said,
so we're here.
This is a solution-based think tank.
When
Everyone
this
will
brother
have
talked
the floor.
about being passive, thank you. I'm going to continue because I know who I am. When this brother talked about being passive, I'm offering. How many solutions have you heard so far? Thank you. Well, what's your name? Marcus.
We
When
just
Marcus
got started. What the
thank
fuck
you.
is you talking?
We're
The
here.
problem
We're here.
is the division
Here,
within our
we're
people.
okay. He just told me his name.
It's
so I can say
always
it and honor him.
divisive energy within our people.
I'm not divisive.
You not?
Scotty.
That's why I asked where
Let me
you
say something,
finished
please.
because I felt like we didn't have it.
Nah,
But I'm
we got-
gonna do what the people's asking. But I'm gonna say that in order to get to what we really want, really ask yourself, are you ready to die for yourself, and are you ready to die for other people? Because that's what's next for us, a revolution.
Thank you for your time. See, this is my thing.
And I also want to say that everything that I just did was out of love, and what is happening, people speaking over me and things. We did not do that to the panelists who have not provided us concrete solutions yet, other than Gerald, which is why I was asking the question that I did around if he was able to speak, because I was also interested in what you had to share. So that energy and that love is present. And again, that's why I'm still on the mic.
So, okay, I just want to say, I know everybody has a lot of high energy, y'all. This is all coming from media everywhere for these last few days. Thank you so much for speaking. As a black woman, I definitely do appreciate you. That's why I did come and give you the mic, because I felt your concerns. So thank you so much, you guys. We definitely do appreciate all of you speaking as well. I am interested to hear in what you have to say also. But please, y'all, please, the internet has been in flames with disagreements. We come here in peace, in love, to find a solution. So yes, and to definitely hear people speak. Kayla, did you have something to say?
I'd like to, I haven't addressed the panel yet, and I don't want to speak on the topic that my son and the panel has asked me to come up here about mental health as of yet, but I do want to speak about, again, the divisiveness. And I know that it's coming from I can hear it in the sister, I can hear it in the young lady who was over there who was speaking about the next generations, but I fit into the category of because of my socioeconomic status and where I live and my job title, I would be considered middle class America. But that does not mean that I don't care, that I don't love, that I'm not willing to die for all of my people, So again, when we talk about divisiveness, we can't say, well, just because you're affluent or you're well off that you're not in the streets. I came from the streets. I grew up in the Bronx, New York. This is what it is. My son has that passion because I instilled it in him as a youth to do out there, to be a revolutionary. So revolutionaries don't come in a particular gender. They don't come in a particular color. They are all about fight. So we have to be very careful not to ostracize anyone who wants to make a change. If we're here about making changes and solutions, that's what we have to be about. Not saying, well, I'm more dedicated than you, because that's part of the problem. That is part of the oldest trick in the book, is to divide and conquer. Thank you.
Go ahead. Like I said, I'm here. We formed this for a solution-based think tank. I'm not acting like this. I have all the answers. I'm here to learn and grow with you. And I'm thankful that she spoke out about concrete resolutions, right? That's the energy we have to be on. But it's a camaraderie thing. It's a togetherness. There's too much me in our fucking culture. No one is doing the best thing for us as a people. People are highlighting themselves. People want to be in front of the cameras. I don't care about none of that. I just want us to come up. I appreciate the concrete solutions. Who called? Marcus T.
Sister right there.
I just want to speak. My name is Renee Gardner. I've been in the community. I did this in 2016 at the Hip Hop Town Hall. I'm here taking notes for everyone. I'm part of the R-Bar family, and I want to appreciate everybody that's come out. What I will say is there are women that are not just in the front lines out there, they're also on the front lines here. When we planned this, these gentlemen here were immediate. They can come. They didn't have to ask permission. They didn't have to check their schedule. They didn't have to do any of that stuff. They didn't have prior engagements, which is just how and why you see, and we are proud of the black men that are here. You are valued, you are loved, we appreciate that. I also say that to say, as we continue this on, and I do want to continue this, we will be having other discussions and things where I do have other women, and I do have already invited other women and would like to encourage other women to be a part of that. No, I'm just saying in general. So I know that as other women sit here as well, we always see panels with men, and we do look and say, where are the women? You know, just as anything. So I do want to let you know that this is not a one-time thing. We are taking everything that everyone says, we are taking it in our hearts and minds, we sleep on it, we think about it, and we are moving forward. That wasn't my real thing. I wanted to let y'all know that I am a book editor, right? And I've been editing this book for a guy named Mr. V. He owned Mr. V's Figure 8 back in the 70s. Nice. And let me tell you this. As I've been doing this book, and he's been talking about all the issues with everything that's going on, a name sounded very familiar, and his name is Paul Howard. Paul Howard has been with the police and messing with other black businesses since a long, long time. So that's just all I will say with that when we start voting and we start talking about it. So the name that popped up today, when it's like he's got 6 things on his desk, he's had a bunch of other things that people have gotten away with. So it's just time that we have to, like you said, vote and change the structure of what's going on. So thank you.
And yes, I do have a friend here by the name of Kayla. She stood up. She didn't get the mic or be on camera, but I did ask her to be a therapist representing the panel. Also, if you are watching, if you are LGBT, if you are a person of color, if you feel as if we do need to highlight, and we do need to have your voice involved, please contact us. It was not just men only type thing. And as Renee has mentioned, we do mention to continue doing this. This was just something that was very immediately and not as well planned just due to everything's going on. So thank you so much for using your voice. So yes.
Please let me just make one comment. It behooves us to listen more. That's why we got 2 ears and 1 mouth. It's disrespectful when you speak from a position of ignorance, and I don't mean that you're ignorant. I mean the unknowing. It's disrespectful because when it comes to police shootings, it's disrespectful when you speak. You don't ever know who you're in the room with. And I'm sorry some people don't like what I have to say, but if you want to talk about solutions, the first damn solution is unity. Until you got that, don't nothing fucking matter. I mean, what are we talking about? What are we doing nothing but taking jabs, this and that. And even when in the beginning, just to show, and listen, if your mind ain't open, you done made your mind up and you ain't gonna never get it. So I ain't talking to y'all, not those. But I did feel some kind of way about the sister with the mic. But what did I do? That's over.
Okay, let's.
No, come on, sister, don't, please, let me finish my point, please. I'm just talking about how you reconcile, how you come to an understanding. You're gonna have confrontation, but don't egg it on and keep it going. Here's my last point. Here's my last point, because I got too many damn families that I represent. I meet with too many damn families of slain children for me to be in here going back and forth with somebody.
Wait.
It's not about being gay either. This is
Come on. Guys.
Y'all, cut the cameras, cut the live, cut the cameras.
Guys, we just need every with a bar card representing the oldest civil rights organization in the world that birthed the only lawyer to change the law. We have to deal in reality. We got to change the law. He's right. And so I get it. I've been with Tony Michelle. I know what the sisters at Solutions Not Punishment are doing. They're doing yeoman's work, just like Charbase is doing yeoman's work, just like Marcus Coleman is a soldier and a general in the struggle, just like Scotty been on the front line since the beginning. But I'm gonna cuss right now. God damn it, they killing folks in the streets. Okay? There are tanks going down the street in Atlanta, Georgia. So if we don't get together and figure out that we gotta do this ourselves, that we got to pack out courtrooms to force judges to do the right damn thing. We got to force Paul Howard to indict these killer cops. I don't want to hear no more dissension, because I was here when Black Lives Matter exploded because we want to talk about this and we want to talk about that. I don't want to talk with Jimmy Atchison's family no more when they crying in the middle of the night. Marcus done been up with families that we don't even know about. And when we start talking about we got to center voices, let's center everybody's voice. Because we all black people. We all melanated. Let's get focused. This is a battle. This is a war. And our enemy is united. So until we get united, we got to deal with this issue. This is a think tank, which means we came to listen to y'all. This ain't about me. This ain't about Scotty. This ain't about Marcus. It's about them bodies in the street. And so in a few minutes, me, City, Shaw, all the frontline soldiers got to go right back on the battlefield. And I don't want to hear no more goddamn debate online when y'all motherfuckers ain't on the front line.
Talk that shit.
So let's get real. Until you talk to Jimmy Atchison's family, until you stood with Oscar Kane, until you talked to Veltavius Griggs' mama, you ain't got no right to be arguing. Y'all need to call out the people that are causing this problem in Atlanta, and I can name them. But we got to get on the same page, because if we don't, he gonna be next, you gonna be next, you gonna be next, she gonna be next, and we gonna be marching the street with another hashtag. I'm tired of marching. I love marching, but I'm tired of marching. I done had 9 protests in 24 hours. Ain't nobody marched as much as me. But what we need is to be like Dr. King. He marched one time and got legislative change. There was one march on Washington, and then the Million Man March, but he wasn't at that one. One march. Voting Rights Act. Let's focus. And again, I want for everybody listening, there are not 2 ways to do this. There are multiple ways. I ain't always Martin. Heck, I might be Malcolm Luther Esquire. But we got to get on the same page. So let's do that. Otherwise, we going to go outside. Everybody going to get on their phone. Okay, another person dead. Let's march some more. Oh, I'm tired of marching. Oh, they done shot somebody else. And now we all having that same feeling when we saw Ahmaud's video. I almost threw up. I couldn't even post the one about George. For 9 minutes, the man was sitting there screaming for his mama. A black man screaming for his mama.
Who ain't even alive. His mama did.
Can I speak? Because one thing that I'm having a problem with, and I'm going to keep it 100, we got to check who we are or what we're about at the door and come together, because it's too many, well, I did this and I did that, and, you know, it's not about I. It's about us. It's about us, because we all hurting. Everybody in this crowd, because you here, you hurting. And again, like you said, Gerald, there's, how many ways can we get to downtown? We can take 85, we can take 75, we can take 20. Everybody has an input. And if we differ, I want them sisters, I hope them sisters come back, because that's exactly, we are sitting here solution-based, and we damn showing the problem. That's the problem. Now, I don't think it was I know it wasn't an overt act to say, okay, we not gonna have sisters here, or we're not gonna represent any of that. I understand that. I know it's not true, because any sister wants to come and sit up here, I'll sit down there. I don't care where I am.
They can have my microphone. I want to listen.
I want to hear y'all.
Because we need each other. We have to stop this bullshit about separatism. As a clinician, I talk about de-escalation. I talk about how we have to be in harmony and speaking together and respecting everybody's input, whether you agree or disagree. My son and I go at it all the damn time. There's a 30-year difference between us. So are we going to be on the same page? Absolutely not. But at the end of the day, we can bicker all night. Next day, he'll call me, Pop, I need you to do something. I'm there. I can call him anytime of night. Son, I need you to do something. I'm there because we family. And everybody here is family. And we got to start acting like it. Period.
Go ahead.
We have people that's watching live that do want to get back to the discussion. That's if I'm on my phone, I'm just talking to people. People are just asking me questions.
Definitely.
And communicating
But
over
we
the chat.
did have to address that because the divisiveness is the main problem amongst our people. And it always and the thing is, you can have a difference of opinion. I'm glad that she came forth with concrete solutions. That's what this is for. But you cannot attack somebody else because you don't agree with their opinion.
One thing, Scotty, and I'm sure the sister who is a clinician as well, we talk about how to be agreeably disagreeable, especially in family sessions, especially in couples counseling. We can disagree, but let's be agreeable about it. Let's be considerate about it. Let's be understanding that everybody under the sound of my voice is here for one thing, to uplift and change, to uplift our people and to change what the fuck is going on, period.
So we have a young woman that has something to say. Hopefully it's not about.
Talk about it.
I came down.
Address the issues. I like it.
Okay. So I came down here to find out how I can help, what I can do to be a part of it.
Mike,
You guys
use the
did-
mic a little bit more, man.
Okay. I came up to see what I can do, how I can help, how I can be a part of it. You guys sit on the front lines, but there's power in numbers. So what can I specifically do? I know that people are lined up at these marches. Do we have voter registration forms? How can I help? That's why I'm here. Where do I need to sign up? Where can they sign up? Because the issue is people don't understand the legislative part of things. They just want things just fixed, and there are different steps to it. So I understand what you've been saying, because I work for labor. And who are we affiliated with? Who do we need to be affiliated with? Those people who are looking into getting involved in elections. When you don't know who to choose when it comes to an elected official, you find a group that you're affiliated with, that you're like-minded with, and see who they're endorsing, things like that. But I want to know, and I'm sure other people want to know, what can they do? A lot of people want to get involved. And so that's what I want to hear.
Can I say something with that?
Wait, hold on, let me just, okay. So my sister, who always says this, is actually here. There are different positions in revolution, and that's Queen, she's right over there. And so yes, people can get involved. And one thing that Tony Michelle hit on, and it's perfect, of course Marcus hit on it too, we all got to organize, which means we got to join organizations. The NAACP, the oldest one, I would suggest that one. Go to joinNAACP.org. We have meetings every third Thursday of the month. We have voter registration. You get plugged in with the voter registration piece. You can always get plugged in on the marching piece. It's just what we got to understand is we got to have these type of conversations on a weekly basis so we can plug in so you can know what the next steps are.
And
so,
are we doing any voter registrations at any of the marches?
Yes.
And if you need people to man the table?
Yes.
Like, I'm just here to find out what I can do.
I want to say something to that. So,
of course. Okay, cool, thank you.
So
Thank you so much.
So especially with the frontline talk, I'm one of the newest, well not youngest, but newest to the frontline, and I've learned a lot. When I first started marching and protesting, I used to get mad at everybody who wasn't on the front lines until I was educated through this brother Coleman, the sister Queen, Griggs, even Smart, Dom, like they used to say, City, it's not for everybody. So what I would say is find what you're good at. If you're good at cooking, if you're good at admin work, if you're good at anything outside what you feel like it's missing, trust me, it's needed. I was in Minneapolis this past week, and one of the things that I noticed that, you know, we do it here to an extent, but to see how the operations during this protest, because I hate the word riot, it's an uprise. But during this protest, what I realized was the community was working like a clock. See, the news did not report this stuff. It was, I can say, very slim that any black business got touched. The reason why that is because all the black businesses that were in that community were on the front lines with the community. They were feeding, they were giving water, they had first aid vans, they were doing temperature checks, making sure people were okay. There were lawyers amongst the crowd. It was just like clockwork. Not everybody's meant to take the hit in the face. Somebody's got to catch the person that falls. So you just got to find out what you're good at. There's multiple organizations. Each individual on this panel is a different organization. You just got to find, hell, start your own. Educate yourself and figure out how you can do it. Exactly. So you just got to find out what it is you're good at. And like I said, I used to be, in Griggs to tell you, I used to be the man like, I don't want to talk to them. They ain't on the front lines. That's not everybody's position. You got a quarterback, you got an offensive line, you got linebackers, you got defenses. You just got to find what you're good at. And like he said, Queen speaks on it all the time. And I just feel like once you find what you're good at and you find a position in the organization or the movement, just perfect it and then bring somebody else along with you. But unity is key at this point, especially right now. He been holding his hand for a whole hour.
So there is a notepad going around where we can put everybody's contact information, because she did bring up a good point of wanting to help. So thank you so much for bringing up that initiative. If anybody does want to stay in the loop with how to help with a lot of them who have organizations, please sign a notebook. Where is the notebook, Smart? Okay. Okay.
Amber's got it.
And then
Sure.
who has something to? Okay.
Okay, I'm not from Atlanta. I'm actually from South Georgia. I'm from Barasta. I went to school in Albany. So when it comes to the racism, I've definitely experienced it. And I'm not even 30. So one of the things that a lot of people from the rural areas, and most wouldn't say, this is the city, this is our capital. They look up to Atlanta. A lot of people, especially South Georgia and those areas, they look at, okay, what are they doing so we can bring it back to our communities? You look at Albany, majority black. I'm talking about Doherty County. I'm not talking about Lee County. You look at Lowndes County, majority black. And so how do we educate them? Because even though this is here, and that's fine, and you're talking about coming up with solutions, but how do we educate our people? When you're talking about, okay, this is what we need to do. I'm also a teacher. So they give us the curriculum, tell us this is what you need to teach, this is what the kids need to learn. So what are we going to do to educate, or how could we educate our people? Because it's just we can say we can join the organizations, they don't even know where to look. We can say the books and everything like that, but how do we step forward and say, okay, this is the blueprint of what we did here. Now let's go and implement this in this small rural town and see how it works. Let's educate them on whenever they're looking at the ballot, and don't wait till June 9th, but you can go right now to the website and type in your information and get the sample ballot, and you will see who's running for the Democratic side, for the other side, and so forth. You can see the list of people already. The information is there of us studying and educating ourselves. However, we all know everyone's not going to take that time. So is there a platform to where people can actually go to say, hey, these are the people that's running in my county. This the information that I need to know. And yes, I know it takes time because you have to build it. It takes a lot of time. However, we are here to organize and come up with different type of solutions. So how can we educate our people on, okay, these are the people who are running for your area. For me back at home, I know the 2 state representatives who are running for the area that I grew up in. However, I can research that information, and since I know them personally, it's definitely different. However, everyone doesn't understand, who do we have to represent us? What does that look like? School doesn't educate us on, you talk about the 3 different types, the 3 branches of government, but when you get into what exactly that looks like, how can we educate our people? Because right now, I feel like that's what we need to do. We can come up with different solutions, but you can join organizations, but is there a platform we can go to and get this information, so therefore we know what to do, and we can have the people run for these different positions, and we can support them. So instead of me going to the website and see that from the governor and from the school, from the state superintendent and so forth down, instead of having old white men leading everything in this state, to where we can change that. So I guess what I'm asking, how do we create this platform to where we educate, yes, here, right here in Atlanta, but also when you look at the different areas in Georgia, the rural areas, the country, the back roads, the dirt roads, when you start talking about, okay, not just, you know, you got DeKalb and you got Gwinnett, but I'm talking about when you get to Ware County, when you get to Doherty County, Lee County, Lowndes County, when you get to those different areas and so forth, where it runs deep. How do we educate those people, because they are also looking for answers as well?
My answer to the solution is this. How many people are a part of a Facebook group in here, okay? How many people are just part of a thread where you got 5 or 6 of your homeboys and your homegirls that y'all text back and forth information, sometimes stupidity, but it's what it is. We have to start in the micro, not the macro. Start small. If you got 5 or 6 people on a thread that you text on a daily basis, give that information that you got, because I'm sure that somebody's from a rural county, and then expand it. Social media is such a powerful tool. We have to utilize it. It's not just for showing, all right, what bling you have or, you know, all of that, but educate each other through that. Use your small groups first and then expand. Bring somebody along and say, hey, you know, we're discussing this topic, we're discussing that topic on the thing, and give that information. You know, information is key, but communication is much better. We have to communicate with each other.
So let me say this, as somebody who just spent 7 different protests in 7 southeastern Georgia counties. On these platforms, they are communicating. And so when I was in Pierce County yesterday, or when I was in Brooks County, and then we went over to, I think we was in Lowndes for a minute, they knew everything that was going on in Atlanta. They knew about the protests. They knew who planned the protests. And so what we have to realize in the social media age, everybody in Georgia are talking to each other in real time. And what I need y'all to remember something as well, and my African brothers and sisters and my brothers in the Caribbean want to remind us too, everybody in the world is talking to each other in real time. And they're waiting for us, the black folks in this country, to wake up to our power. And so what I'm saying to my sister that's a teacher, because you think and operate with a different side of your brain than I do as a lawyer. I think about just presenting the information. I don't think about how the presentation of the information. So in movement, we have to start having movement schools, okay? We have to start having teach-ins. What we're having right now in the 60s would be called a mass meeting, where we are strategizing and then we take it out for an action. We need to use the old blueprint and update it. So in the old movement, they use calling trees to get the information out. We using social media. So we just have to revolutionize that. But what we need from people like you is, how do I put that flow chart together understandably so people can understand, all right, I want to change the law, so I need to make sure I vote for this person, that person, this person, because that's their platform is police accountability. And if I get the police accountability platform, now we get the legislative change so we can get it all the way up to the Supreme Court, and we only need 5 votes to get a new law. See, that's how I think. But that flow chart was everywhere. You can make it understandable to the point where people that may not think on a JD level can think on a 6th grade level in that area, you know, because I mean, you probably think as far as education on a graduate school level, but when I think about education, I'm probably operating at a 6th grade level. You understand what I'm saying? So that's what we gotta do. We gotta condense the information and put it in an understandable form, probably in a digital flyer, and make it shareable.
That was definitely one of my suggestions, taking the information that we gathered from this panel and putting it in a flyer.
Yeah, I say share. Like this. Okay, this is yeah, make a website. That's true.
We need all of that.
But hold on, let me just say this. The next time that we have an event, I need y'all to do one thing. Share the event. If somebody goes live, share the live.
Everybody can be live.
At that point, it's reaching all of your contacts, and I'm sure a lot of us have contacts in South Georgia, because trust me, they said, hey, I was on your live the other day and I saw the entire protest.
Okay, Mr. Griggs, Kayla has something to say.
Sure.
Hey everybody, I'm not really stage savvy. I'm a nerve wreck. But I didn't formally introduce myself. So first, I love that Teacup is putting it into my life that I'm licensed. I'm not licensed yet, but I am a master social worker. So, and I'm a case manager here at a young adult homeless shelter in Atlanta. I don't know if any of you guys are familiar with Covenant House of Georgia, but that gets affected by Atlanta every day. I actually started there I interned as a therapist, and they asked me to come back because of my work, so now I'm a case manager. And I just wanted to share that the young lady, or we're probably around the same age, she was wondering, like, where's the platform, where do you go to? I was that way. I was just seeking, like, for me, the biggest thing is mentorship. Finding somebody older than you or in the field that you're in, and then follow them, talk to them all the time. That's where you're gonna learn the best. And I was more so of trying to find an internship group, and I guess the pandemic happened in my favor because I couldn't find one, so I decided to make one on my own. And it is called Cultivate Coaching, and I'm specifically going to find licensed therapists, licensed counselors, bachelor social workers, master social workers, and I want to specifically go to collegiate students who are studying in social work and in counseling so they can have a mentor. Because one thing that I learned in my field, there weren't any mentors. I was blessed to have a great supervisor in my internship, and that's how I was able to get in the field. They don't know about resume building. They don't know any type of job. They think social work is just defects, we taking people's kids, and that's the very last thing a lot of us want to do in the first place. So like I said, I work at a homeless shelter. No one even knows a social worker would be at a homeless shelter, and I'm there 10 hours a day. So if you feel like you can't find a platform, make your own. And it's so easy to make your own. It's so easy to pay to get an LLC. It's so easy to make an Instagram page, have people, like they said, share.